What up, YouTube? Here with a post-fight video of the Vasiliy Lomachenko versus George Kambosos fight. Now, this fight was for the vacant IBF lightweight title, and I wanted to make a preview video to this fight, but this fight turned out the way how I expected it to go. Vasiliy Lomachenko won this fight via 11th round TKO stoppage and now is the new IBF lightweight champion. And for the second time in his career, he is a lightweight champion. And the lightweight division is having a resurgence ever since Devin Haney decided to vacate all the titles at lightweight and move up to super lightweight. And to sum up what happened in the fight, this was one of Lomachenko's best performances. It reminded me of how Kambosos' fight went when he fought Devin Haney and how impressive Devin Haney was in that fight versus Kambosos. And Lomachenko performed almost the same as Devin Haney did. That's how dominant Lomachenko was in this fight. I had this fight prior to the stoppage, a shutout, 100-90 in favor of Lomachenko. And just from telling y'all my scorecards prior to the stoppage should let y'all know, if y'all haven't seen any footages of this fight, how much of a clinic Lomachenko put on versus George Kambosos. And heading into this fight, I expected this fight to go the way it did because of the style. And Kambosos tends to struggle versus highly technically sound fighters like a Lomachenko with the intelligence that Lomachenko possesses and the movement that Lomachenko has that has been considered amongst the elites ever since Lomachenko has been fighting, dating all the way back to the amateur days. And Kambosos, his style is very one-dimensional. He is a counter-puncher that tends to rely on the right hand very often, and he doesn't know how to fight coming forward. Kambosos' style is that he likes to telegraph and time his opponent's attacks and counter his opponents with aggressive combinations. And with the style Lomachenko possesses, that tends to make it difficult for a fighter like Kambosos to counter somebody as elusive as a Vasiliy Lomachenko. And that's how this fight went throughout the entirety of the fight. And what I was impressed with the most from Lomachenko, and this is a late adaptation that Lomachenko added to his arsenal, because Lomachenko has made a reputation of being a slow starter. He likes to collect information from his opponents and warm up for the first few rounds and let his opponents do his thing. That way he could collect data to go to work on his opponents and pick them apart. But in this fight, he started out fast from the sound of the bell all the way to the end. He stayed consistent from the beginning to the end of the fight. And Lomachenko being a fast starter, it didn't show any signs of greenness. He looked experienced and he looked knowledgeable as to knowing what he's doing from the beginning of the fight and starting out early. And Lomachenko, his in and out movement, his footwork, his usage of attacking from different angles proved to be too much for Kambosos to handle. Kambosos, he would have, well, this is me being generous to Kambosos, because Kambosos, when he would throw to the body, he would find some success here and there. And when he would try and catch Lomachenko with one shots, such as the left hook, because a right hand that he was throwing straight forward wasn't landing at will as Kambosos would like to. But Kambosos, he couldn't lay it all on the line and sell out and go straight forward and attack aggressively and fight fire with fire, because the speed of Lomachenko was too much for Kambosos and he couldn't fight his way around it. And you look at the CompuBoxes, you look at the punch stats. Lomachenko had one of the most successful punch stats when we talk about punches landing. In this fight, it was, I believe, from what I've heard, the most successful fight when it comes to these stats, because he landed over 50% of his shots throughout the entirety of the fight. And how accurate he was in finding his target versus George Kambosos was a key factor in this fight as well, along with all the arsenals that he utilized in this fight versus Kambosos that worked like a charm for him in this fight. And Vasiliy Lomachenko, his level change and his versatileness and attacking from different angles and going in and out, not leaving a target for George Kambosos to find. He fought a brilliant, perfect, excellent fight, and Kambosos didn't have an answer, as I said, and this was a enjoyable performance from Vasiliy Lomachenko, and it was a clinic. And at the age of 36, which is the age of Vasiliy Lomachenko, he looked to be in his heydays when Vasiliy Lomachenko was considered to be the number one pound for pound fighter in the world when he was competing amongst the featherweights and at super featherweight. We saw the in prime Vasiliy Lomachenko in this fight. Now, we do know that styles tend to make fights, and a fighter like Kambosos is a match made in heaven for a fighter like Vasiliy Lomachenko, and the style that Vasiliy Lomachenko possesses, hence why he looked this good in this fight versus George Kambosos. And one of the biggest criticism that Lomachenko has faced was him not being able to start early, and not taking anything away from Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez from their victories against Vasiliy Lomachenko, but Vasiliy Lomachenko did give out the earlier rounds when he fought both Lopez and Haney, unlike this fight versus George Kambosos where he started out early, and he didn't show any signs of trouble at starting out early versus George Kambosos. Now, granted, as I said, styles do make fights. A guy like Devin Haney, who is just as skilled as Vasiliy Lomachenko is, it's more risky for Lomachenko to start out early and have a fight with a fighter like a Devin Haney that is just as technically sound as him, to not collect data and go at it heads on from the sound of the bell. And with the in-ring IQ that Vasiliy Lomachenko has, Vasiliy Lomachenko probably knew heading into this fight that stylistically Kambosos' style wasn't up to par technically with him, and he could afford that risk versus a fighter like Kambosos for him to start out early and not having it as risky as it would be versus other fighters that doesn't have the style of a George Kambosos. And now that Lomachenko once again is a world champion at lightweight, and we did see that Baranchik, I gave it a little pause there because I was trying to figure out how to pronounce the new WBO lightweight champion's name. He's a fellow Ukrainian, and he upsetted Emmanuel Navarrete in being victorious and becoming the new WBO lightweight champion. And we know that Gervonta Davis is the current WBA lightweight champion, and Shakur Stevenson is the current WBC lightweight champion. And that's what I meant by saying that there is a resurgence in the lightweight division. And Emmanuel Navarrete versus Baracek, I'm going to give y'all my post-fight thoughts on that on a separate video. And if Baracek and Lomachenko were to fight, they have a stylistical difference. I would still favor Lomachenko to be the favorite in that fight. Stylistically speaking, it would be a more of a difficult fight for Lomachenko when comparing Baracek to Kambosos, but a title unification bout would be a good look, not only for Lomachenko and for the lightweight division, but for the whole sport of boxing. And the more marketable bout, obviously, would be a unification bout versus Shakur Stevenson, who is the second most, well, I'd say the third most recognizable name in the lightweight division. The first being Gervonta Davis, he is the bigger draw, and then the second would be Vasiliy Lomachenko, who's been a staple of a name not only amongst the lightweight division but in all of boxing for a longer time than Gervonta Davis. It's that Gervonta Davis sells more tickets West Coast, I'm talking about the Western Hemisphere in the Americas, that is, because Vasiliy Lomachenko is a Eastern European-based fighter. Now, if we speak from a global scale, I still say Gervonta is the bigger draw, but Lomachenko has been the more of a household name for a longer period of time than both Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. In America, Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson is the more recognizable name when it comes to drawing numbers, but Vasiliy Lomachenko has been the more recognizable name for a longer time and has been fighting on the elite level for a longer time than both Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. And promotionally speaking, it'll be easier for Vasiliy Lomachenko to get a title unification bout versus Baracek and Shakur Stevenson. And I know Shakur Stevenson, his contract is soon to be expired with Top Rank. I believe he has one more fight left with Top Rank, and he's got a fight coming up in July. And in the second defense of his WBC lightweight title, and then we got to see what Shakur Stevenson and his team does as far as whether he wants to re-sign with Top Rank or venture out to another promotion. Top Rank does hold more top rank level fighters at lightweight, and there would be more marquee matchups available for Shakur Stevenson at lightweight if he were to stick around with Top Rank. But if he wants to have a fight versus a cash cow at lightweight, that being Gervonta Davis, he will want to jump ship from Top Rank to PBC to have that All-American affair fight versus Gervonta Davis. And if Frank Martin can upset Gervonta Davis in their fight coming up in a few weeks, then Shakur Stevenson can get in there with the likes of Frank Martin as well. But the fight that fans would like to see is the fight with Shakur Stevenson and Vasiliy Lomachenko. That would be a chess match of a fight that we'll see out of those two fighters, and that would be an in-house fight, a easy fight to make happen for Top Rank if Shakur Stevenson, after his second defense of his WBC lightweight title coming up in July, if he successfully defends that WBC lightweight title in July, then we could talk about that title unification bout between the WBC and IBF lightweight champions Shakur Stevenson and Vasiliy Lomachenko, because that's been a fight that's been talked about amongst the boxing fans for a while now, since Shakur Stevenson decided to move up from super featherweight and try out the lightweight division. And that's the most marketable matchup and the most stylistically appeasing matchup on paper because Gervonta Davis is a heavy hitter, unlike a very technically sound fighter like Shakur Stevenson and Vasiliy Lomachenko. And as far as Emmanuel Navarrete goes, he was unsuccessful in his first fight at lightweight. He just recently moved up from featherweight to super featherweight, and he was successful in capturing the WBO super featherweight title. Heading into that fight versus Baranchyk, I did say, or not say publicly on this channel here on YouTube, but it was within my thoughts that it was too premature for Emmanuel Navarrete to move up from super featherweight when he had just recently moved up to super featherweight a year or two ago, and then he had that draw versus Robson Canseco in his last bout in his defense of his WBO super featherweight title, and then to vacate that super featherweight title and move up to lightweight. Very ballsy of Navarrete to move up to lightweight as quick as he did and to challenge for a title in his debut fight at lightweight. But Navarrete is still a dangerous fighter at lightweight. He had a good fight versus Baranchyk for the WBO lightweight title. Be on the lookout for my post-fight video for that fight. And that's it for this post-fight video of the Lomachenko versus Kambosos fight. Subscribe to this channel for more content, and if y'all like this video, click the like button for this video, and share this video if y'all want. Click the links in the description to show y'all support for this channel. Any and all things would be appreciated, and that does it for this video. I'm out, y'all. Be good and peace.